So hello and welcome. So where am I today? Porthcawl? London? New York? No, but somewhere equally as glamorous. Cefn Junction Signal Box, South Wales. So why am I here? Well, today I'm going to walk the lost Porthcawl Branch Line from here, Cefn Junction, all the way down to Porthcawl. So come along with me and let's see what we can find. Wait a minute, we're going the wrong way. That line, where the tracks still are, that's the Porthcawl Railway. The old Porthcawl Branch Line went that way and it no longer exists. So that's where we should be heading, down that path over there. Well, I'm back over the fence on the correct side, next to the signal box itself. I was on the Porthcawl Railway and the tracks are still there. I think in emergencies, it's still connected. They can still get trains down there. But this side, the tracks are gone, and this was the Porthcawl branch, which ran right next to the signal box itself. So what am I going to use to find my way? There's a really good website, which I'll link below. Well, this website is really useful because it overlays modern satellite images over the old maps dating from the late 1800s to the 1900s. And you can fade between the two to work out the exact locations. But first, a little history. The signal box itself dates from 1898 and it's on the junction of the Porthcawl Railway and the Porthcawl branch, as I mentioned, and the tracks of that Porthcawl branch are still there. Well, the Porthcawl line first opened in 1829 as a simple horse-drawn tramway from Maesteg Ironworks down to Porthcawl. It was later extended to the mines up the valley. The line was converted to steam in 1861 and there was an increase in passenger traffic. Day trippers off to the growing seaside resort of Porthcawl. Well, the Porthcawl branch remained open until the 1960s when it was finally closed by the Beeching Act. It was actually closed to passenger traffic in 1963 and it closed completely in 1965. So that's the brief history. How much of the line can we still actually walk? Obviously, since the 1960s, there's been a lot of redevelopment. There's industrial estates, the M4, new housing. So let's go and take a look. But before we leave Cefn Junction Box, there's a few things here. There's these. You can see these handles here. And also, what's interesting are these stone sleepers. I think these date from the original horse-drawn tram. They had stones either side with nothing in between where the horses could walk. So on the way, what indications we're going to find of the old railway? I don't think we're going to find that many because the route's been quite heavily redeveloped in parts. So anyway, we'll keep our eyes open. Well, personally, I'm not a big train enthusiast, although I find the history of industrial South Wales quite fascinating, especially when you walk down quiet country lanes like this, which once were really industrialised. Don't forget, a big steam train was running down here carrying coal and iron. About the tracks, when it was a horse-drawn tram, I think the gauge was 4'7". Then it went to broad gauge. Then it went to standard gauge. I think it's 4'8.5". I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. But anyway, what they did when they had the broad gauge, they simply added another rail. Instead of taking up the other ones and converting, they just added another rail alongside. Well, in the past, I've done videos about this area, about the history, Park Slip Colliery, and I'll link those below. Hunting and shooting not permitted. You find things like this on the way. This is a post, but it looks like an old rail track to me that's been planted there for some reason. Part of a fence. There's a plaque marking the route. The Duffryn Llynfi Porthcawl Railway Company, 1825. Well, not far from the signal box, you go past Bedford Ironworks. I've done a separate video on that and I'll link that below, but we'll have a quick look because we are so close. So from Bedford Park Ironworks, the path is pretty much like this, all the way down to Kenfig Hill. So I'll get back to you when we reach Station Road. And there's a clue there, Station Road. So I'm just about to emerge into Kenfig Hill. And it's bin day, so the bin lorries are making a lot of noise. So as you can see, this is one of the areas that's had a lot of redevelopment. But the train ran over here towards that telegraph pole. So there's a clue, Station Road. The train ran basically where those houses are now, down here. Well, so much for the weather forecast. It wasn't meant to be raining until about 1 o'clock. It's 10 o'clock. Hopefully it'll dry up again. It's quite fine. Anyway, this is Station Road. And the station, hence the name, was around here somewhere. Again, if you go to that map, you can do the sliders to find out how the current map and the satellite images compare to the ones from late 1800s, early 1900s. Apart from the name, Station Road, there's no indication that a train ever ran down this road. So the train ran towards us, across here, then down this cycle path. Anyway, I was saying in a previous video, my grandfather used to be a signalman in one of the signal boxes near Kenfig Hill. Initially, I thought it was Cefn Junction Signal Box, because my mum remembers going to Kenfig Hill station and walking up the tracks. He did mention the place burnt down, and that one didn't. So there were a couple more in the area on the Porthcawl Railway branch, not far from here, so maybe it was one of those. So now we're coming up to Kenfig Hill Rugby Club. So this is Kenfig Hill Rugby Club. The train ran along here towards the new doctor's surgery, and as you can see, the actual ground rises, but there was a cut-in and the train went under the road, Pisgah Street, Bridge Street, and came out over by the surgery and the car park behind. So that's where we're heading now. So the train went under here, under the road, to where that building is now, and it came out by the car park over there. So that was Kenfig Hill, Pisgah Street, Bridge Street, and that's the doctor's surgery and the car park. And we're going to rejoin the path which follows the old railway. So there's no mistaking, we're on the right route. As you can see, an old railway bridge there. So the line used to go through there, under the main line, that's the Swansea to London main line, and then around to Pyle station, which used to lie near the garden centre. Have a look at the old map. That section, that curve, we can't do. So I have to go through the industrial estate, and I'll see you by the garden centre, by the main line. So I'm in the industrial estate, not very interesting. Main line's there, and the old Porthcawl branch curved the other side of the main line and joined over there. Like I said, I'll see you back by the garden centre, near where the old station used to be. If you know the area, it was near George's Diner, that sort of area. So I've reached the garden centre in Pyle, and I'm just about to cross over the Swansea to London main line. So that's the main line coming from London and going to Swansea, and the original Pyle station was just up there. So it's now slightly quieter. The line came along the main line, over what's now a roundabout, used to be a farm there, into the fields over there, and down the bypass towards Junction 37. Again, it's better if I illustrate this on the old map. Because I can't walk down there, it's no pedestrian access. I'll walk round to Llynfi and pick up the railway from there. It's quite funny. I drive past this quite often, but it's not until you walk the area you realise how busy it actually is. So I'm now at junction 37 of the M4. Up there is Pyle. That's where I was at the end of this link road. The rail line curved into the trees there, then came out onto what is this link road. Then it sort of curved round behind me over there towards South Canali, and that's where we're heading. As you can see, this roundabout at junction 37, the M4, is completely got rid of any evidence of the old Porthcawl Branch Line. But when we get to South Canali, we will see some remains, hopefully, and it should be a bit quieter there as well. So I'm leaving North Canali on the way to South Canali. The M4's there, and the old Porthcawl Branch Line would have come from Llynfi over there, would have come into this field and curved around and gone towards South Canali. So I would have been walking parallel to the railway track. It would have been over there, about 200 yards over there, going towards South Canali. I don't know if you can make out those new houses there, and just behind that is a ridge, but between the two, along there, that's where the old train would have run. And a blatant plug as well. I have done a separate video about this area, South Canali and the quarries, and I'll link that below as well. By the way, if you like my trips, I want to buy me a coffee, there's a new button underneath. Super thanks. Listen to the sirens in this sleepy village. South Central LA. So just up here the oldest part of South Canali, there is some evidence of the old track. It used to be a manned level crossing. Let's go and see what we can find. So this is the oldest part of South Canali, and just at the top of the hill, near that red car, that's where the track used to be. There used to be a level crossing there. As I mentioned, you can see more about this area in my video about South Canali, but briefly, the track ran across here alongside these houses. Well, actually, that used to be a pub. This used to be a manned level crossing, and I think that was the crossing keeper's house. There used to be a signal box here, and you can see the track went over here down towards, if you know Porthcawl, the Esso petrol station and the industrial estate behind that by Discount 9. That's where it came out. So at the top of the hill in South Canali, there is an information stand telling you about the tram. It took 6¼ hours to go down to Porthcawl. On the way back, an extra 2¼ hours. That house over there used to be a pub called Three Horseshoes. I started at the junction, Cefn Junction there, and we're now there. So what I'm going to do now, walk down to the Esso petrol station, and when I was walking through that area a few days ago, I managed to go behind and take a photograph of the old exit to the tunnel and the back end of Smoky Cot Bridge. Have a look at these. So I'll see you down by the Esso petrol station. Well, I'm just behind the Esso petrol station, and this is where the old track used to run from where I left you by the level crossing in South Canali, coming through here, underneath this road, then to, I don't know if you remember the Smoky Cot Bridge. It was a really narrow bridge on a bend. Under there, then it crossed over to the Grove Golf Club. This is the entrance to the quarries, hence the noise. So, some people said, oh, the Smoky Cot Bridge is still there. No, I've been in there when it was in the winter to have a look. It is broken up. The only thing I found was a bit of the road, the old reflector posts, and posts for the old chevrons, that's all. So now we're going to follow the track round over to the Grove Golf Club. So I'm now in the Grove Golf Club, and where this path is, that's basically where the line was from Smoky Cot over here, and it followed that line of trees and curved around down towards Nottage. Obviously I can't walk there because it's the golf club. I am on a footpath at the moment, and then it goes into farmers' fields. But what I can do is walk across here, which is a public footpath, down to Moor Lane, and I'll meet you at what is known as Cuckoo Bridge. How do I know this is a public footpath? Because I've got a second channel where I do local walks, and I show you the exact route of often hidden public footpaths. And recently I did this one, so check that out. Again, I'll put the link below. My second walking channel, Marcus Walks. So I'm now on Moor Lane, and I've rejoined the old track. This is known as Cuckoo Bridge, and it's actually two bridges joined together. If we look carefully inside, there's an old section here, and this was built for the old tram road. Then it was extended, you can see the newer brick, and this was to widen the bridge and make it stronger for the heavier steam trains. So that's Cuckoo Bridge, and just 150, 200 yards down there is Nottage Halt, and that's where we're going next. So that farmer's track comes from the bridge and follows where the track used to be. Goes past us here, and this was the start of Nottage Halt Station. It's a bit overgrown at the moment because it's still the end of the summer. Like I said, it's a bit overgrown, so I'll put in a photograph of how it used to look. Great Western Railway. Is it 1911 I can make out? So I'm just coming up to Nottage Village. So where did the track go? Come with me, I'll show you. So it came out from there to the right of the cottage, Talbot Cottage, behind this barn. So I'm now in Nottage, quite close to the Rose and Crown. And the train track itself disappeared under here. There was a tunnel on this side of the green, and it came out just by that house over there in a cut-in. So, is the tunnel still here? Does someone have access to it? Let me know in the comments below. So the train emerged from the tunnel by this house next to the farmers, went across there and down alongside South Road and to the right of the new dual carriageway. With all the building work and the change of roads around this area, it's really hard to plot it exactly, but that's where that website comes in useful. The overlay of the satellite over the old map. The train emerged from Nottage roughly here, just behind the barns. Then it went through the house opposite, that one there. So it emerged from the cut-in in that field there. I'm walking down South Road into Porthcawl, and the rail track would have been on my left. And those houses to the left of South Road in a dip, which were built in the 70s, I think, the train would have run straight through where they are now. So Rock Cottage, it would have been behind this, the old windmill, behind that building, behind these row of houses. I bet Michael Portillo doesn't get all this hassle with noise and builders and lorries. Originally, the station was at the end of sort of Philadelphia Road, where Stoneleigh Court and the bus station is now, hence the name Station Hill. And if you remember that old gym, that building at the top of Station Hill has now been knocked down recently, along there was called Station Road, and that was the original station until 1916. Then they moved it towards the sea, to where the car park is now, up by alongside Salt Lake Car Park near Dock Street. And just like Porthcawl is today, people moaned back then. The original station here by Station Hill had a bridge over it. The one down the end by the harbour didn't. You had to walk down the platform and along the end and back up. So people weren't happy. Must be a Porthcawl trait. Anyway, I'm coming down to Fenton Place, Philadelphia Road, and that was roughly where the original station was, the original train station before 1916. And in the photograph, I'll put it up now, you can see this house in the background. That house there. If you look in the photograph, you should be able to see it in the distance. So that's the dual carriageway there. Station Hill's over there. By the time you got to this area, the line would be where the road is now. And over there was Station Road. And the original station would be behind me. up until 1916. Then it was extended and moved down to the car park there. Well, obviously it wasn't the car park then, down towards the western side of Salt Lake. And that's where we're heading to for our final stop. So that's the subway to Station Hill. Before that was the old level crossing. Well, anyway, I'm here at the old ticket office. So this is a good place to end, at the old Porthcawl ticket office. That was my walk from Cefn Signal Box along the old Porthcawl Branch Line as much as I could to Porthcawl. And if you want to see more of Porthcawl and its history, check out these videos, and I'll see you in one of those. Bye.